5 NFL best bets broken down with plenty of analysis for Sunday NFL Week 14 action. We got picks in the morning slate, the afternoon slate, and we'll wrap it all up with my Sunday night football pick for the Chiefs versus the Chargers. Now we're coming off a 1-1 record on Thursday night football between the Lions and the Packers. We took Jared Goff over 250.5 passing yards, and we lost on Jordan Love over 32.5 passing attempts. Let's do better this Sunday instead of just going 1-1. Let's go 5-0. Why not us? Now, the best way to support this channel and keep all of these picks free is to just hit that like button and subscribe. It only takes a couple of seconds, but I'm greatly, greatly appreciative of all of your support. And if you're just stumbling onto this page for the first time, welcome. My name is Peter Appel, and this channel, Just Gridiron Fans, is the home for all of my NFL picks moving forward. And I'm going for my 4th straight profitable season. So if you're into that sort of thing, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications because my Monday night football video will also be out soon. But we got to take care of Sunday. Let's go. But just first, a reminder that this channel is sponsored by BetMGM. It is the perfect time to use promo code JustGridiron for a first bet offer up to $1,500. Deposit at least $10, and if you lose your first wager on BetMGM after using promo code JustGridiron, you'll get it all back up to $1,500 in bonus bets. It's an absolute no-brainer to take advantage, especially as we inch closer to the playoffs. Don't leave free money on the table. However, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. As we normally do, we'll go in chronological order of all of the picks, starting with the 1 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then, of course, my Sunday night football pick. And be sure, let me know in the comment section below what you think of all of these different picks and what you're on for NFL Week 14 action. I'll be sure to answer all the comments just like I always do. So we're going to start with the Buccaneers versus the Raiders game, and I think it's going to be a sneaky great game. Aiden O'Connell threw for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs in his last game, and if you watch that game, in my opinion, appears like a better option than Gardner Minshew for Las Vegas. Stretching the offense, that's the key here. Completing 25-plus yard passes to 4 different receivers. Sincere McCormick ran well on top of it, tallying 64 yards on just 12 carries against a really stout Chiefs run defense. They put up 434 yards of total offense, but only came away with 17 points. I mean, it is the Raiders. They left so many points on the board in that game. They missed 3 different field goals, and everyone remembers that random fumble by Aiden O'Connell that ended up losing them that game. Now, I don't think they'll leave as many points on the board in this matchup as they have a matchup against the Buccaneers defense, which is much easier than the Chiefs defense. The Buccaneers have the 6th worst defense this season by EPA per play, only better than the Cowboys, the Patriots, the Bengals, the Panthers, and the Jaguars. Not great. But the Buccaneers defense is solid against the run. They rank 11th in rushing EPA. That's normally good for most matchups, but the Raiders, they can't run the ball against anybody. So the game plan is probably going to be centered around attacking the Bucs' 29th ranked secondary by dropback EPA. It's also not a healthy defense, as linebacker KJ Britt and strong safety Mike Edwards are out for this matchup. Tyke Smith, apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, PFF's 18th best corner overall, is also questionable for this game as he's been limited in practice with a knee injury. It's expected that he's going to suit up, but I doubt he's 100%. So I expect the Raiders to be pass happy in this one, and that usually leads to a couple of things. Freak turnovers, which we could possibly see giving the Bucs better field position, incompletions that will stop the clock, and explosive plays are more likely, especially with Aiden O'Connell in this game, and especially against this Bucs bad secondary. I was going to go with the Raiders plus 6.5 because I think they have a really good path to 21 to 24 points in this game, but I can't see the Bucs putting up less than 27 to 30 points in this one, and let me explain why. Bucky Irving is trending towards playing in this game. Has a hip injury that has kept him kind of limited that he suffered in the last one. He should be a go. And Evans should also play after being questionable. And when Baker has those 2 weapons against this Raiders defense, the Buccaneers should be just fine. Now, the Raiders defense has actually been a little bit better than the Bucs have this year, but the Buccaneers offense is one of the best in the NFL, ranking 6th in total EPA on offense. That's higher than the Bengals, the Packers, and the Chiefs. Now, the Raiders, they play man coverage more than the average team. And Baker has the 7th best completion percentage in the NFL against man coverage. The Bucs put up 445 yards against the Panthers last week, but Baker threw 2 interceptions and they missed a field goal. The Bucs have only been under 24 points in 3 games this year. They've proven they will put up points about just about anybody. And I also see no reason for the Raiders defense to be motivated in this one like they were last week against the Chiefs. They're now 2-10. The season is over, and their last-ditch effort against the Chiefs ultimately fell short. Now they go on a road to face a non-conference opponent. I don't think the defense gets up for this one, which I think makes Baker, I think the Bucs might score the most points of any team in the league this week. And now the Raiders, the best part of their defense is their run defense, ranking 15th, but against the pass, they rank 26th. So that'll likely lead to more Baker completions down the field and more of a pass-heavy game script. Tristan Wirfs was also able to practice on Friday, which lends some hope to him playing, which is a huge addition to this offensive line against this Raiders pass rush. And now this just feels like a 50-point game to me, as both teams have easy matchups on offense coupled with a pass-heavy game script approach for both. I played over 45.5 at -115 to win 1 unit, and I make this total 47, even close to 47.5. So anything at 46 or better is a definite play for me on the over between the Buccaneers and the Raiders. For our next pick, we're going to look at a player prop and a pick against the spread for this divisional showdown between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. And really, both of these picks stem from one source. Among others, we'll break it down, but really the crux of it, the Seahawks defense against the Cardinals. The Cardinals' inability to run against this Seahawks team. 2 weeks ago, the Cardinals combined to rush for 49 yards on just 14 attempts. Trey Benson led the team with 18 rushing yards, and James Conner only mustered 8 yards on 7 attempts. This wasn't just against the Cardinals, though. They kept the 49ers with CMC and Trent Williams to just 17 points, and they kept the Jets at home to just 14 points on offense. I know they scored 21 points last week, but 14 of them were by the offense, and all of those 14 were scored in the first quarter. When division foes face each other for the second time, both teams often make adjustments. The issue is that I don't see how the Cardinals are going to be successful against the Seahawks run defense this time, and they haven't been because they've lost 6 straight games to them. But it's not just about the run defense being so strong. The Seahawks are the #1 defense in the NFL since their bye week in week 10. Mike McDonald has certainly found his footing as the head coach after leaving Baltimore. Just look at how the Ravens defense has done without him. Now, on the flip side, the Cardinals defense has also climbed up the rankings. They rank 8th in EPA, but just 24th on offense. The key to stopping the Cardinals, and the reason I keep bringing up the run defense, is you got to halt the run game and get pressure on Kyler. Because in a clean pocket, Kyler Murray is the 9th best quarterback. Under pressure, he drops to 19th. In that game, the Seahawks pressured Kyler Murray on 40% of his dropbacks and sacked him 5 times. I don't know how the Cardinals are going to fix this. And again, they faced Seattle the last 6 times, and they haven't fixed it, losing all 6, and 3 of those were in Arizona. Now, the Cardinals closed at -1.5 favorites in Seattle and are now 3-point favorites or an expensive 2.5. There has been an adjustment for home field, and that feels about it. But the Seahawks, I think, are the better team and are trending up. So I believe that this should be closer to a pick'em. On a neutral, I have the Seahawks 1 point better. I'll give the Cardinals 1.5 points for home field advantage, which makes the Cardinals -0.5 really just an expensive pick'em. So that makes Seahawks +3 one of my favorite bets of the week, which is why I bet the Seahawks +3 at -120 to win 1 unit. Now, on that note, I think that the Seahawks are going to be forcing Kyler Murray to throw more often than not. So I'm targeting a wide receiver for the Cardinals whose lines that I think are just too low. Kyler Murray mainly targets 3 players, at least lately: Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison, and Michael Wilson. Greg Dortch has largely been phased out as he's only seen 5 targets in his last 3 games. Now, Wilson has cleared this receiving line of 27.5, even up to 29.5 in 8 of 13 games last year and 7 of his 12 games this season. So in his last 2 seasons with the Cardinals, he's been over 27.5 receiving yards in 60% of his games. Now, the matchup he's in is pretty intriguing. On the surface, facing more man coverage is likely going to deliver him a matchup with Devon Witherspoon, one of the best cover corners in the game. He was the primary defender on Wilson just 2 weeks ago, but Wilson was able to beat him deep, right? on 2 catches. He had 54 receiving yards. However, Witherspoon has done a really good job on tight ends this season. And with Trey McBride catching 24 passes in the last 2 games, I have to imagine that the Seahawks use their game plan to stop both Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride over a guy like Michael Wilson, which I think is going to open up more one-on-one opportunities for Michael Wilson. And because the Seahawks have excelled in man coverage, especially against the Cardinals in general, and that's really what's kept the Cardinals offense at bay combined with their run defense, Wilson's target rate against man coverage is 20.8%, nearly 7% higher than it is against zone coverage. Wilson has proven to break free against the Seahawks coverage, whether in man or in zone, averaging 54 yards against them in 3 games. He had exactly that in the first matchup of this season, when the Cardinals only mustered 6 points. And in January of last season, he had 95 yards. Now, in his first matchup against Seattle, the first time he ever faced him, he still had 26 yards, which again is about 2 or 3 yards shorter than the line that we have today. Now that Kyler has been mainly focusing on just those 3 targets and the likelihood of the Seahawks more adjusting to McBride, 27.5 yards for Michael Wilson is just too low. My model on Rithmm agrees, projecting him to finish with 38 yards in this game. And even with the highest line on the board at 30.5, this still is giving us nearly a 61% chance of hitting this play. So give me Michael Wilson over 27.5 receiving yards, playable up to 30.5 to win 1 unit. Now, I highly recommend downloading Rithmm. That's the model we just talked about. You can find the link in the description of this video to access your 7-day free trial. You can build your own AI-backed model or use their back-tested model with tons of props and game predictions. Now, they also do other sports. Me personally, I just focus on MLB and NFL. But if you're a college basketball, NBA, college football, golf, they got everything on this Rithmm app. Highly recommend trying it out. Make sure to click the link in the episode description or the description of this YouTube video to access your 7-day free trial. For my next pick, we're going to travel to LA for a pick against the spread between the Buffalo Bills and the LA Rams. Now, just forewarning, I'm a Rams fan, and I only bet them on the spread or fade them if I'm uber confident in the spot and the matchup. I'm just 2-0 on this season while taking the Rams, and I hope to be 3-0 after this game against the Bills. Now, I'll be honest, I'm still licking my wounds after we faded the Bills last week and we took the stupid 49ers. It ended up being a bloodbath as the Bills in the snow dominated the West Coast 49ers. It was clearly the wrong side. The Bills won big in front of all of America and clinched the division quicker than most teams could even dream of, which of course gives us value. And now this is an old-fashioned spot. Spot plays, they haven't worked that well this year. This is one of the best years for the public and just these in general. It's contributed to my worst year ever betting on the NFL, right? We're still fine. We're treading water slightly, but I still believe in these long-term spots, which Buffalo is not in. The thrill of winning the division is one thing, but after the Rams, they play the Lions in what could be a Super Bowl preview. They got the Detroit Lions on deck. That's what we call a sandwich spot. Now, the Bills, they've been the best team in the NFL over the last 6 weeks, scoring 30-plus points, covering 5 of their last 6, including 3 straight ATS covers. But what does that do? It hits our ATS streak system, which says to fade teams like the Bills. And if you did, over a long stretch, 135, 97, and 6. You'd be hitting at a 58% rate, and it is 6-4-1 this season. Now, during this epic run, the Bills rank number 1 on offense and 8 on defense. In that same stretch, the Rams rank 11th on offense and 15th on defense. The Bills are undoubtedly the better team, but can we point to their plus 17 turnover differential in that span, which may make these outrageous box scores a little bit misleading? Now, this Bills defense, credit them for getting the turnovers, right? They play the 8th most zone in the NFL, and it's really a great defense. However, both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp rank as the 4th and 6th best wide receivers, according to PFF, based on fantasy points per route run. These guys are elite at finding the open spots in this zone defense, and against zone, Stafford's completion percentage rises from 54% against man to 69% against zone, the eighth best in the league. His passer rating also climbs from 92 to 96 against zone. In a flat spot, especially for this defense, when Stafford matches up really well against zone, I expect the Rams to be in the mid-20s regarding points. Now, on the flip side, let's be honest, there really is no stopping Josh Allen. He will figure out how to get his points. But the Rams play a lot of zone as well, and Allen's passer rating against man, 105. He playing man against Josh Allen is a death sentence, but just 83 against zone. His completion percentage is 63.7% against zone, ranks 29th in the league. Allen also might not have his full complement of weapons at full strength, as both Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid were limited in Friday's practice and are now both questionable. Stafford was an injury question this week, right? He flared up his ankle against New Orleans in their last game, but he was a full participant in practice since Wednesday, so he and the Rams offense is a full go. I think the most likely scenario in this game is that the Bills win by exactly 3. And still, due to the spot, I think the Rams are a live dog here. And this really is the Rams' entire season in this game. This is a must win for the Rams if they want to win the division and make the playoffs. While the Bills, they already locked up the division crown, and they have a potential Super Bowl matchup against the Lions just next week. I think it's a flat spot, and I think the Rams are sneaky here. So that's why I took the Rams +4 at -115 to win 1 unit. As long as you're over a field goal, I think the Rams are the play here. For our last pick, we're going to take a side for the Sunday night football pick between the Los Angeles Chargers as they travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Now, when the Chiefs played the Chargers back in September, the Chiefs were a 7-point favorite on the road and won by exactly that. Now, even though they are 11-1, the market has gone against them, right? They haven't covered in 6 straight games. We've made money fading them a couple of times. The Browns and the Cowboys have as many covers as the Chiefs do. They have won 6 straight games against the Chargers, winning by an average margin of 5.67 points. And I see no reason why this line shouldn't be exactly that, 5.5 or 6. Because Ladd McConkey's injury status, big storyline for this game. He's battling through some shoulder and knee injuries and logged 2 limited practices this week and seems like he's a true game time decision. I assume he's going to play though, but he's really the only impactful receiver on the Chargers. So missing him, or at least him not being 100% in this one, is really a death blow to this offense that is struggling mightily right now. When the Chargers target Ladd McConkey, Herbert has a 53% success rate. When he targets any other receiver, 41% success rate. And across the last 4 weeks, the Chargers ranked 17th in EPA per play on offense and really struggled to put together anything consistent. Instead, they're just relying on their defense and special teams to set up scoring drives, right? Last week was a perfect example against Atlanta. Chargers escaped with a 17-13 win despite Herbert throwing for 147 yards, and he was sacked 5 times against a Falcons defense that came into this game with a bottom 5 pressure rate. The line might be closer to 6 if the Chargers lost, and they should have. As the adjusted score told us, the Falcons should have won by 10, but Kirk Cousins threw 4 freaking interceptions because he is washed. I wanted to take the Falcons +6 this week, but I just can't. I cannot bet on Kirk Cousins right now. And that's the team and the quarterback that the Chargers beat 17-13. I watched that game. The Chargers looked terrible. And it was a similar story the week before against Baltimore, where Herbert was sacked 4 times and threw for 218 yards on just 36 attempts. And the Chiefs, who rank top 5 in pressure rate, will be in a great spot to get to Herbert in this matchup. And over the last 4 weeks, again, I don't mean to get on my guy Herbert. I think he's great, but he ranks 22nd out of 29 quarterbacks in EPA plus completion percentage over expectation with a minimum of 100 snaps. You know where that puts him? Right next to Will Levis and right next to Anthony Richardson. We've heard all season about the Chargers' exceptional run game, and they have been all year, right? But it hasn't shown up in recent weeks. Chargers were held to just 56 rushing yards last week and 83 against the Ravens. But with J.K. Dobbins now on the IR, Chargers' rushing attack is on the shoulders of Gus Edwards and Kamani Vital. Not ideal going into a matchup with the Chiefs, who rank 4th in rushing EPA per play and 3rd in rushing yards allowed per game. So to summarize, I think the Chargers are really going to struggle to run the ball in this matchup, struggle to protect Justin Herbert, and will potentially be without their most impactful receiver. This is potentially an offensive nightmare situation for the Chargers against Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense. But the Chargers defense currently ranks fourth in EPA per play against and didn't give up more than 17 points until week 11 against the Bengals. So the Chargers defense is definitely good, but the question remains whether their defense is truly elite or whether they were dominating inferior opponents. The latter seems to become truer week by week as the Chargers gave up 27 to the Bengals and 30 to the Ravens. And over the last 4 weeks, the Chargers ranked 20th in EPA per play on defense. Now, on the flip side, the Chiefs' offense has performed really well in recent weeks, ranking 8th in EPA per play on offense over the last 4 games. And now, with the Chiefs getting 2 extra days of rest to prepare for the Chargers, the Chiefs are 27-4 straight up with 8 or more rest days since 2019. And I think the Chiefs' run offense is going to be much improved in this game. Now, Kareem Hunt has done well, but Isaiah Pacheco is just a different monster. He returned last week 7 attempts for 44 yards. I thought he looked good. And his second game back now with extra rest, I expect the Chiefs to get him more involved and should be set up for success against the Chargers defense that has allowed 100 plus rushing yards in 4 straight games. The Chargers defense is also just banged up as they have 7 defensive players currently listed on their injury report. And also, this is just another added nugget that will definitely, for all the people who put their tinfoil hat on, conspiracy here. Bill Vinovich, the head referee for this game, he's the Chiefs guy. Or at least the trends tell us that Chiefs games go pretty well when he's in charge, right? The Chiefs are 8-2 when he's been the head referee, and he's been the referee for their last 2 Super Bowl wins. At 3.5, below the key number of 4, the Chiefs are definitely the play for me, as I believe we're getting the Chiefs finally undervalued for the first time this season. And I would play the Chiefs up to 4, but I bet minus 3.5 at minus 115 to win 1 unit. So if you appreciated these breakdowns on my 5 favorite picks for NFL Week 14 action, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and let me know in the comments section below what you're on for NFL Week 14 action. I'll be sure to answer all the comments. We'll talk some football, but let's go 5-0 on Sunday. Why not us?